The next session is on less education, more learning, a self-regulated learning and growth mindset module for higher education and lifelong learning. For this, let me hand over the session to my colleague, President, Editor and Head South India APAC Network, Mr. Sudheer Goutham. Over to you, Sudheer.
Thank you very much, Souvik. A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the day 3 of the 3-day APAC Global Education and Skill Conclave, where top education leaders meet to catalyze the transformation, the much needed transformation in education. Just to take you along, we are standing in the midst of the 3rd day of the 3-day conclave. It's a global conclave in true sense, with more than 150 education leaders from across the country and globe, and over 20 state governments joining us, and also 7 country partners joining us as country partners. And we had more than 4,000 delegates joining live and watching us live. And it's a pleasure to have some eminent speakers on board right now for a very important session, that is less education, more learning, which is like less time in the classroom, but critical thinking for the students, which is synonymous to less government and more governance. It is a self-regulated learning and a growth mindset module for higher education and lifelong learning. My name is Sudheer Goutham. I'm the senior journalist, the resident editor and head for South India with APAC News Network. Welcome all of you. With this, I would first like to call upon Professor Birgitte Andersen, the Chief Executive Officer with the Big Innovation Center. She has been doing some amazing work on ground, promoting innovations in Europe and also the parliamentary council out there. Amazing work being done by Big Innovation Center. And Dr. D.N. Rao, President, Education Leader, Vignana Jyothi Education Society. Thanks for joining us, Dr. D.N. Rao. Good to see you and connect with you once again. And also Professor Dr. Christopher Abraham, CEO and Senior Vice President. Welcome, Mr. Abraham.
Thank you.
Organizational Development Consultant from Israel. Welcome, Ms. Ronit. Thanks for joining us. And also Dr. Sandeep Pachpande, Chairman, ASM Group of Institutes. Welcome, Dr. Sandeep.
Screen alarm chain.
Dr. R.S. Bawa, Pro-Chancellor, Chandigarh University. Also, we are joined by Dr. Sayalee, Gankar, Vice-Chancellor, D.Y. Patil University. Dr. Amir Kumar, Vice-Chancellor, Pratap University. And also Dr. Indu Rao, who is the Director, ACS, Vellore Institute of Technology. I welcome you all once again. We have speakers from across the country and across the globe. Thank you very much. So in the interest of time, since we would have an initial question from all the esteemed speakers, I would start off with Dr. Andersen, CEO, the Big Innovation Center. Professor Andersen, we would like to have your initial remarks on your perspective and how your organization is going towards less education and more learning. How a student or a product out of your institution is moving towards self-regulation, self-learning, and which could support towards his lifelong learning.
So thank you very much, and I'm very delighted to be here today. I assume you can all hear me. You have to tell me if you cannot.
Yes, it's clear.
So thank you. So yes, I'm the CEO of the Big Innovation Center. We are like an innovation communications consultancy and think tank. And as you kindly mentioned, we are also the Secretariat for the UK Parliament on Artificial Intelligence and Blockchain. And one that's very important, of course, is how these new technologies can be transforming the learning process. So where we're looking at the applications into into industry, society, and university, we are also using, of course, the methods of peer-to-peer learning, in which we are bringing industry on board and academia on board and government on board to co-create and design the new corporate policies. So we see ourselves as facilitators, designers, and co-innovators of the future process, and that has been what has been behind our success. I also just want to say quickly, I am also associate, I am a full professor at University of London Birkbeck College, where I ran the electronic commerce program for 10 years between 2000 and 2010. So I have a higher experience as well. Okay, so we have been, in the Big Innovation Center, we have done three things. We looked at the role of what we call learning to learn. This is really where we are gearing universities and higher education into more facilitating the skills of learning how to learn. We have also been looking at artificial intelligence, how it should apply it into education. And we had the last thing we looked at very deeply has been the use of, how you're going to generate assessment in these new systems. So AI applications into assessment of students. So if I first can focus on the role of educators or teachers. So now here I'm coming with some of the results because we have our few minutes here. So really we've been looking at education as a platform and learning as a service. And in this process, the teachers or lecturers or professors really become facilitators and coaches and mentors, applying a lot of fantastic programs which can be used both online and of course on site in class. And something that will surprise you, I'm sure you discussed it at a conference here, is how the physical class sitting outside context is kind of becoming a part of the past. So either it is co-learning in virtual rooms or it is co-learning into context where there will be much more use of lab work and experimentation, and that can also be online. So in that sense, instructors, the instruction becomes into co-learning processes, and this peer-to-peer aspect of co-learning, peer-to-peer via digital or peer-to-peer outside digital, to be able to administrate that becomes very important. In that sense, students also learn how to, and not just to be reacting to the learning process, but actually to be proactive in generating new knowledge that is actually happening not in the classroom, but in the new type of learning platforms. And learning becomes very much what we call precision learning, and that's very personalized. And textbooks clearly is going to have a completely different thing, because it's really more a matter of you're using the environment as your textbook. So what are the skills that then the students should need to have, the teachers need to be able to generate? That's something we've discussed a lot in UK Parliament with our groups from AI and blockchain and with professional services and manufacturing companies. Really, the skills we want the students to have when they leave university is complex problem-solving skills. It is critical thinking skills. It is also the cognitive flexibility. So, for example, if they're working as a consultant or in finance or with heavy machinery, high-value manufacturing, they need to be able to critically assess the results coming out of what the machine is doing or what's happening in the finance world. So judgment and decision making is also very important. So this whole thing of learning to learn, but coordination with other cognitive flexibility, complex problem solving, critical thinking, and that essential decision making is very, very important. Something that we also cannot forget, and that is 20% of people globally has problem with basic reading skills, and 25% of people have problem with numerical skills, mathematics and other number skills, and more than 50% has problems with digital skills. And we really need to get the digital skills up for this to work. The last thing I want to say here is assessment. How do you assess now students coming out? Really, because we need to assess the learning to learning skills, not just the basic skills. And we need to assess we are using these digital programs, and we in UK has a huge scandal because during lockdown, when students went to exams, not university students but secondary school students, the algorithms that was applied in measuring the students' performance was really became a big disaster. I don't want to go into detail, but it was literally wrong, and government had to cancel the marks. But clearly students had been through process. So we need to make sure, how do we actually assess? And I can comment on that maybe later, but that's one of the major things.
Thank you, Professor Birgitte, for that taking us through that amazing work Big Innovation Center is doing. I will also come later in the second round about the model innovation and economy innovation that the Big Innovation Center is doing. Now, I'll move to Dr. D.N. Rao, an education leader with more than 3 to 4 decades of experience in the field of education. He's also an entrepreneur. Dr. D.N. Rao, you take on this. How do you look at the growth of mindset module among your students?
Good afternoon, everybody. I think from last decade almost, we have been looking at this particular topic, less education and more learning. I think it's very apt to this discussion today. We have followed a strategy. I think probably it will come on the screen.
Yeah, we can see.
We have 3 steps there, which we have been following from last we innovated this started innovating about a decade ago, or more than a decade ago, but now it is almost streamlined. The first line that you will see is the vertical literacy, followed by, it basically consists of 2 words, presencing and design thinking. Vertical literacy is something that we're all keen on, because the knowledge one acquires as an education institution is very horizontal, it's very wide. We must create an environment where they can go deeper on the vertical side and start doing things, appreciating things, and make an impact on society. For this to happen, in the very first year of our higher education, especially in engineering as well as in management schools, we use 2 words, presencing and design thinking. I'm sure if you type in presencing, that word, you will end up with a red underline, meaning it doesn't exist in dictionary. But then that is our contribution to English. And also, very surprisingly, I think this is a word that is used at MIT by Professor Shoma almost from 2012 onwards. So this presencing, actually meaning, as you will see there, 4 words: presence, sense, experience, and extrapolate. At the end of it, this is what education is. One must be present on a scene or in a classroom. He must sense what is happening or what is being taught, and he must say the experience also, and also the extrapolated. He must have these capabilities. That makes his thinking both horizontal as well as vertical. And the second thing, we have found it's very extremely useful to link up this concept with the design thinking. At the end of it, everybody has to design. And in fact, we tell the students, you start designing your own life, your own career. You visualize your career and then design it. So this again has elements that are almost, you can run a parallel between this one and presencing. The design thinking elements are empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. This is one successful experiment that we have conducted at our institution from the last almost 6 years. The results, the enthusiasm of students is very gratifying. So that is about the vertical literacy, consisting of 2 elements, presencing and design thinking. Second high impact initiative that we have taken is wit and will. Again, probably you may not find this in dictionary, but wit meaning, it's a protocol at Vignana Jyothi, all institutions, that when the teacher starts teaching, we must introduce why is the teacher teaching that. Why am I teaching? What I am teaching is the first element. Then the student happen to relate it to the real life. Then at the end of the class, the student on a parallel line will give another example of why am I learning what I am learning. This, especially students coming from grueling book reading of their intermediate and other competitive exams, they hook to this idea of wit and will, and the learning is much more deeper, I would say. The learning is deeper with this concept.
Yeah.
And finally, I have 1 minute. We have what is known as spectral pyramid. The higher education, apart from just teaching, has other 3 elements. As you will see it on our spectral pyramid, we have the first element is excellence in academic. Then the second element, you will see it, is the excitement of research. And the third element that you will find is the exploration, the enjoyment of exploring the innovation and the entrepreneurship. And the fourth one is the impact, all-round personality, and the impact that they can create on the society. These are the 4 elements that we insist that the student should look at his own capabilities and look what he can do around his education.
That's quite impressive and amazing. I'm sure it's right from the basic school education you're imparting. Design thinking is something which we are hearing these days often, and many of the professionals are also taking up the design thinking courses to enhance their efficiency in their workplace. I would come in the second round to Dr. Jain Rao, how their students are taking these design thinking and this strategic approach by the institutions like Vignana Jyothi. Now I would come to Dr. Christopher Abraham, CEO and Senior Vice President with the SP Jain School. Please let us know, Dr. Abraham, the kind of approach that's being taken up, the best practices in your institution.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to people in other parts of the world. Let me start with a small background for those of you who may not know us. SP Jain School of Global Management is a history-making school. Why do I say we are history-making? We are, our roots and heritage are Indian. Our footprints are Australasian, Dubai, Singapore, Sydney, and Mumbai. We are accredited by the Australian government. Checks are accredited, and our rankings are global. Top 100 in the Financial Times twice, top 100 in The Economist, top 20 in Forbes, top 10 in Forbes, and more recently, top 5 in the world in Times Higher Education and Wall Street Journal. Now, we need to ask ourselves a question: how is it possible for a young 16-year-old business school to reach these top echelons of rankings? There are 2 words to describe what we do: disruptive innovation. So where have we disrupted? We have disrupted the pedagogy. We have disrupted the learning mechanisms. We have disrupted the way professors train and teach and impart knowledge. We have disrupted the way skills are imparted to the future generations. And in the process, we have won these accolades. Our students come from almost 45 different countries. They work in all the 6 continents, across domains, and most importantly, even in the entrepreneurial space. Now, let me give a context to it. You spoke about the distinction between teaching and learning. A fascinating experiment was done by an Indian British professor, and his name is Sugata Mitra. Some of you may be familiar. And Professor Mitra's exciting experiment is called the hole in the wall. So some of you might want to research that, the hole in the wall. What did Professor do? He came to the rural parts of India, the backyards, if I may use that word, and virtually went to a village and carved a hole in a local village and fixed a touchpad, a computer. Now, the audience who was supposed to be part of this experiment were rural children. Almost 80 to 90% of them had never gone to school. Listen to this fascinating experiment. Little by little, within a few hours, children started coming across the power of curiosity, the power to dabble, the power to try various things. Professor Rao touched upon the power of why. Okay, kids started playing around with it. And then within 6 weeks, children who had not even gone to school actually knew how to use a computer, how to download songs and games, how to play games among each other and play with others. In other words, what was the biggest insight was that learning can be self-directed. For long, we have had this myth that you need a facilitator driven. Yes, you need teachers. I myself am a professor, so you need us. But at the same time, the neuroscience of learning says that given the right environment, children can learn on their own. So that's the first point. And of course, neuroscience of learning, there is plenty of research that says that can do that. Recently, during the mid of the pandemic, the World Economic Forum came back with a very interesting analysis of the critical intelligences that we need to not only survive, but to thrive in an uncertain world. The first one they spoke about was something called contextual intelligence. Now, Professor Rao touched upon the presence and sense. So contextual intelligence can be akin to that, but it's a continuous quest to see what's happening around us. Let me give you a context to contextual intelligence. Now, during the mid of the pandemic, you were seeing a lot of people, hearing stories about, the pandemic, COVID-19, so many people are dying. Yes, there is a paranoia. Yes, there are challenges, but a lot of times we miss out that human ingenuity can far surpass the challenges of the pandemic, and which we fail to understand and fail to actually appreciate. So contextual intelligence. The second one is moral and ethical intelligence. Today, it's a no-brainer. You need that. There's no choice. And the third one is social and emotional intelligence. Whether we work with machines, whether we work with human beings, you need to understand that we're still human in a human world, and we need to interact as social and human creatures. The fourth one is technological and digital intelligence, the ability to apply technologies in your space of work, whether it's medicine, whether it's law, whether it's management, whatever. And the fifth one is what we call generative intelligence, which is the ability to be innovative, to be creative, to apply design thinking. I myself am a certified design thinker from Stanford. So all these skills, and the last one is transformational intelligence. And in other words, what you need to do is you have to understand that learning is not just concepts. Learning concepts, learning skills, learning the intelligences, and in 3 words, beautifully, you can articulate and encapsulate the essence of learning. You have to learn, you have to unlearn, and you have to relearn. It's a continuous process till we see our creator. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abraham. That's quite interesting how the way you said it's design thinking, and there is also an approach towards teaching, and it's also the learning, improving learning ability among the students. It would be quite interesting to know how the students at the school level and also at the higher education level take these strategic approach. With this, I will move on to our next speaker, all the way from, joined us from Israel, Ronit Haham, Organizational Development Consultant with Haham Consulting Israel. If I pronounced right, please correct me.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, so excited. Yes, my name is Ronit Haham Salman. First of all, I think of myself really as a true lifelong learner, and then as an organizational development counselor. And I feel today that I'm so lucky being able to see such a broad angle, working with students and graduates, and also as a former employee, seeing the whole perspective from the employee side. I talk about the new world of work, which is obviously here right now. We thought about online interviews and working from home as something that might happen in 5 to 10 years, but then, hey, Corona came around and say, I'm here, this is a new world, let's work together. So I would like to share a few points, being able to work with young students and really it's not even teaching them. In my mind, I'm more than a trainer or a counselor or a guidance maybe. This is what I inspire to be, because as some of you already said before, well, they don't really need us for the information. So information is out there. They can just click and go and see. When I was younger, I used to go to the library. I would sit for hours looking for interesting book and information. My kids just go online. It's a whole new world. We should adjust, not only as teachers, but really as the ones that are responsible to escort this new generation. So when I think about what would those young people need, so graduates, young students, what are they looking for? Well, they want some kind of certainty, but however, certainty is something that is really hard to find these days. And when I think about, you know, integrating them into this new world of work, I always say that you need to establish yourself, brand yourself, be proactive. Long life learning is something so, you know, so obvious now. And this is exactly the things that you should really focus on. So I think about things like proactive, positive approach and branding yourself. It's so hard for them, well, challenging at least, to think about branding themselves as a student, as a young graduate. They think that branding yourself is something that you would do after years of experience. But when I talk to them, I try to say, listen, by branding yourself as a professional right here, while you're still in the university, in the college, this is exactly the key for integrating in this new world. So, and it's hard for them sometimes to realize that, and we're working on it, obviously. They're such an amazing, you know, students nowadays. They're so smart. They're really inspiring. However, I strongly believe that they need some guidance, okay? They need some help, sometimes even shoulder to cry on. But they really need us as somebody to talk to them, to show them different angles. And this is the main thing that I am now concentrating at. The ability to work in a multicultural environment, this is something new. When I was younger, I used to work here in Israel. I never thought I would ever speak to you guys. and now I'm really realizing that this is something we need to prepare them for. So different cultures, different behaviors, different even languages. Let's open up to the world. So we already know about this small village. This whole world is a small village, but the coronavirus really made it so real right now. And this is another thing that we are focusing on. Obviously, digital platforms. So I know that some academies, universities really used to work online, teach online previously. However, COVID-19 really brought us to a point that this is the only way we can now reach the students. And I often hear from, you know, young people that however teaching online, being able to concentrate the whole day, it's very hard for them sometimes, but it's like a point of light. So young students tell me, listen, I wait for this lesson, even if it's once a week, just to see people, to reach out to people, to look somebody in the eyes as close as I can. And this is real comfort from them. So, you know, I think that this whole digital transformation that universities are now in the middle of, yes, it's not easy, but this is the way that we need to, well, to prepare for the future.
Yeah.
So,
yes, thank you, Ms. Ronit. What I've heard about majorly you talking about is branding, imbibing this thought about branding themselves, right? From when they're graduate. So with this, the same idea, I would like to come to Dr. Sandeep Pachpande, who's chairman for ASM group of institutes. Dr. Sandeep, several institutes and several students under the wing of your organization, institute. How do you look at the branding and the critical thinking? Will it go hand in hand?
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Depends from where you are in the world. Yes, we at ASM, we are a group of institutions which is providing education right from the kindergarten, going all the way up to the PhD and even into executive education. So we are covering the complete spectrum of education as such there. And what I believe is that the role of education is to prepare our students for the jobs of the future. And that is where the challenge lies for education institutions. With technology changing, with automation coming in and digitization, everything is getting disrupted. It is not just that the job roles are changing, complete new business models are coming up. And what this does is it requires new workforce with different skills. And that's where the holistic education comes into the picture. So we need to have students who are good at soft skills, technical skills, and business skills, all three put together. Unless they know all the three, they're not going to be successful in today's world. So when we look at this world, what we say that we need advanced cognitive skills, socio-behavior skills, as well as adaptability skills. So when we talk of cognitive skills, critical thinking, problem solving are very, very important. Then when we talk of social behavioral skills, we are talking of creativity, curiosity, innovation, and adaptability. You need resilience and again, lifelong learning to become and taught to the students as such. And most of the students in higher education, the goal is employability. So, and when you look at the workforce, we have to look at ways in which you have to reskill, new skill, as well as upskill the existing workforce. What has happened is the knowledge what you learn today is getting obsolete at a very, very fast level. So that is where we need to have these skills which are very, very important. So one of the critical elements for doing this at higher education is having the right partnerships with the industry to do this and the right academic institutions. We started thinking about this around 5 years back and took us 1 or 2 years to come up with a methodology which we have developed at ASM called as EDGE, Excellence Driven Guaranteed Employability Programs. We started applying these programs across all our courses and have seen amazing results coming out. Our first batch of students passed out during the pandemic, but all of them got placed in spite of the recession. So it goes to prove that if the right skills are given to the students, they can perform in any environment or in any situation as such. So what we did was we started courses which were co-designed, co-developed, co-delivered with the industry. So we've got courses in analytics which come with IBM. We've got a course in enterprise management with SAP. We were the first non-tech business schools to teach things like cloud computing and automation, robotic process automation to our students, because the line between management and technology is getting thinner. We need people who understand both. So they need to see how they can apply technology into our daily lives. So we've started a new course in emerging technology, the first kind of course in India with Amazon. And what we are doing this is being added by giving our students some of the top courses from top universities in the world. Like we were the first to collaborate with Harvard Business School online to bring them into India. We are working with IIMs for that as such. A combination of this is what I think is required. Another thing which we have been doing is having our students go through initial modules of effective manager at the start of the course, where they have to do goal setting. We teach them learning how to learn. Surprisingly, that's something which we as educators miss out. So we do take into account what are the skills required for learning, and we make them write, along with the goal setting, they have to make a learning contract. And that is how our teachers are becoming more kinds of facilitators, helping them throughout their journey till they move out into the real world. Now we are seeing that as the future goes and even as education gets disrupted, universities and higher education institutions will become centers of innovation and So here we will have to have continuous engagement with our alumni to keep on upskilling and reskilling them into the regular ways. So the future, I think, is going to be blended, having hybrid online modes of teaching. And if you really have to do it, it has to be done across the spectrum, right from the schooling up to the higher education. And then we'll be having a person who can go throughout his life and follow his journey of education throughout his life.
It is quite interesting to know how the modern institutes are working towards setting the foundation right from their school days of students. And it is very critical to know that how they are, it is all about the particular session especially focuses on creating leaders so that they face any kind of the problems. At the same time, the rapidly evolving the world, especially in this age of modern technology. I would move on to Dr. R.S. Bawa, Pro-Chancellor, Chandigarh University, to give his remarks on this.
Thank you so much. Let me first thank you and all the organizers. Great opportunity. I'll just add that we at Chandigarh University believe that we have to enable and empower these students. These are the two key words because the technology is changing so fast. When it took almost, I would say 30 years from Industrial Revolution 3 to 4, now everyday revolution is taking place. So disruptive technology will keep on coming. So enabling and empowering student means, very rightly pointed out, to learn, to de-learn, to relearn each time. And second thing is, design thinking. Design thinking, to my mind, the problem with the most students is you give them a problem and they will try to find a solution, but they will not be able to identify a problem. So design thinking actually, if I define in a very simple word as I understand, is to identify the problem from the existing situation, find a solution, then create prototype or whatever systems, and then test it and make it available. So to my mind, it means that you have to provide these students with a lot of technology and initiate them into innovation. Once you can do that, I think things can work. I'll share my experiment, what we did at Chandigarh University. And by the way, we are an A+ accredited university, just 8 years old, and we are perhaps the youngest university to get A+ in the first cycle by NAC. We asked all first-year students, all, not only engineering, biotechnology, pharmacy, film studies, whatever, to try to find out some problem related to their field in and around their house and their village or their locality or their street or whatever. And we gave them a structured way to identify, state, write down the context, and also find a solution and come out with us. And it will be evaluated. And it works. It works. And then we started publishing a Journal of Undergraduate Research. Plus, we are the only university, as far as I know, where a Journal of Undergraduate Research is published, where we only publish the research work done by undergraduate students. The results have been astonishing. We have been able to file 770 patents in the last 6 years. And in a single year, my students have filed 350 patents. And our patent granting authority has put us at #1 in the country among all the universities. Now, all these things work because the number of steps that we took, I will not take a lot of time. What we did is, #1, as I said, we initiate them in the first year itself so that they start working on that. The second thing is that we always give the students some content for self-learning. In each course, we have identified, every teacher identifies the content which a student will learn themselves and work. Third thing is, in most courses, most classes, especially in postgraduate, there are term papers and there are research projects, and they are semester based. For example, in engineering, every student has to do 5 research projects, starting from 4th semester onwards. One can work on the same project for five semesters, and upgrade every time. One can work in interdisciplinary project, but all these are compulsory. I mean, there's no choice. Now, apart from this, we give compulsory courses on entrepreneurship, on design thinking, and also now recently we have introduced on AI, because AI is going to be used in all fields. So even agriculture student will study AI. Now this, I think, to my mind, ignites their thinking. This creates excitement in their mind that how they can apply all these things. Another thing that we did for a very long time ago, right from the beginning, that whatever content a teacher has to use in the class, we make it available to the student beforehand. It's available online. In fact, we have been indulging in blended learning right from 2013. We were established in 2012, ever since 2013. So a student knows what is going to be discussed in the class and they come prepared. So the classroom itself becomes not a normal rote teaching, but it becomes an interactive kind of thing, and the student have a lot of ideas. And also they beforehand tell the teacher what is missing in your content and so on and so forth. And the next thing that we did was that we involve our alumni in a big way for interacting with the young students. And they share their experience of where they are working, the kind of technologies, the kind of projects they are working. And the last thing that I would like to share is that we started involving the industry with the university right in 2013-14. And we have 30 plus industry sponsored labs on the campus where the students are exposed to real-time industrial projects, the kind of technologies which are being used by the industry, and also what is coming. So a lot of those things come because we have a corporate advisory board with 350 plus members. All these things put together, I think we have been able to some extent, I wouldn't say, I mean, we have reached, no. But I think we have been able to create, like it was said by Professor Rao, to create excitement in the mind of the student in innovation and research. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bawa. Of course, it's quite interesting that the emerging technologies, even in the agriculture students, since application of emerging technology is always there, design thinking and use of the modern technology has become like a buzzword now. Now, with this, I would move on to our next speaker, Dr. Sayalee Gankar, Vice-Chancellor, DY Patil University. Professor Sayalee, are you there? Can you put on, yeah. I would like to have your perspective on this, and also how is your institution executing these idea of critical thinking and lifelong learning, creating leaders?
Yeah. Thank you so very much for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to speak on this particular topic. Having said that very clearly that yes, today the education has changed, and then of course impact of technology has created a major changes and transformation in our Indian education. DY Patil University is a very large group having 5 universities under its fold. We are in the education of medical sciences, engineering, pharmacy, physiotherapy, nursing, homeopathy, management, polytechnic, and all sort of education that we are running it here. Of course, the universities, the foundation has been led by the Padma Shri Dr. D.Y. Patil sir. Understanding that the students require the holistic education, and holistic education in terms of the total development of an individual, because it's a lifelong learning we do it at our universities. Technology is definitely one of the aspect or a dimension which is required to be given to the students. But what we should focus on is, and that is what we are doing it for more than 3 decades now in this country. More than 30,000 students are learning across our 150 educational institutions, which is a very large organization and having a large student base, which help us to really work going into deep understanding of learning process. While doing so, we are focusing on certain basic things that are required for a human being. We know it very well that the intellectual, emotional, social, physical, artistic, creative, and spiritual potential is required for the students if they are learning in the campuses. At the same time, they take this to the corporates and the large platforms. So when we are talking about it, I think we need to really focus on, and that is what we are trying to do it in our campuses. Because when we are talking about multidisciplinary and holistic learning process, we are focusing on innovation and a blend of technology. The sport, and that is what we are trying to do it. Innovation and focus is on understanding that how one can really acquire those competencies and skills which is required. The basic skill what we talk about, which includes like right from understanding one's own potential, we call it as a competency in corporate, and that is what we are doing it through our competency assessment centers, and that we do it from our school level to the higher education. While doing this, we also ensure that the focus, once we identify the competencies, right from goal setting, monitoring, and even the instruction part has been taken care at the university. We're focusing on, as I have said, that the science, technology, mathematics, these are the areas which are core to the campuses. In campus, it's completely digitalized. It is completely using the digital whiteboards or digital boards in campus. Use of LMS, use of MOOCs, use of open learning platforms are extensively done in the campus. All this is helping us to really think about that how we can really work on student development and sending them either for the corporate positions as an entrepreneur and at the same time as an entrepreneur. So when we talk about this, the labs which are converted into the research and development labs are being taken care very effectively. The campus has a medical complete simulation in the complete South Asia. It's only one campus which we have a medical simulation made available to our medical or doctoral programs. So if you look at it, the investment in the infrastructure in terms of technology is being done. The reason is world is going through technology, towards technology and creating a major impact. But along with this, what we are focusing on, because Indian education always believed in that how we can really take care of values, quality education, and social skills. So at the campus, we are taking a lot of effort to our labs. Various MOUs are being signed with the leading organization, Harvard Business School, Coursera, Apple, TCS. All these companies are helping us to set up the labs, to set up the various processes in the campus. And that all is creating a different impact, a very great impact on these students, those who are going to be tomorrow's citizens of this world. And I think that is what is definitely required in the campus. Huge investment. The second part, one is the education, no doubt about it. Syllabuses, course structures, the labs, infrastructures, MOUs, or the certification is a part of the syllabus process. But what is important is the teachers, the investment in time and learning processes. So if you look at it, the investment into the human capital or human asset is being done very wisely in our campus. And that is resulting into a lot of processes. So if you look at it, we have started with Indian Journal of STEAM, that is science, technology, engineering, right, arts and management. So overall holistic development of the student in the campus is being taken care very effectively. And that is what we are doing it very successfully. I'm really happy that APAC has invited me to share my views with this all the great eminent leaders, and there is a opportunity for me also. I'm taking a lot of notes from other people also that what they are doing, because the learning process, learning from each other. So thank you so much for giving me.
I would be coming back to you for the second round for 1 minute, a response from you all once I complete the other two speakers. Glad to see that overall development of the students are taken into consideration, along with the technology and also the emotional intelligence. Now I would come to Dr. Abhay Kumar, Vice-Chancellor, Pratap University, to put forward his perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Sudheer and APAC, and of course, a very good day to all the distinguished panelists here today. In fact, to talk about Pratap University, it is a state private university located in the city of Jaipur in Rajasthan, which is of course known as a tourist city. So across the globe, I think the city is well known, and the university as such, I would like to assert, has a diversity of students as well as faculty. Why I'm saying this is that we have students right across from the south, from north, east, west, as well as say international students studying here, from African countries, from part of the Middle East, South Asian countries. So this large cultural diversity, in fact, poses more challenges for us. Initially, when the students come, in order to make them learners first, whether they are self-directed or not is in itself a challenge. So what we started as a program of mentorship, because I am a great proponent of the Guru Shishya Parampara, I must tell you that. It is hand-holding which is needed, and that is what self-directed learning or growth mindset, whichever we may talk about, they are all related to it, in my opinion. When a student comes after having done his or her class 12th or say even a graduation, undergraduate course to the university, he or she and the parents have great expectations that the student would of course maybe go into the industry, get a very good job. These are the expectations we have to face initially. So in fact, when we talk about the corporate world, I feel that initially there were a set of skills which the student would learn, climb the corporate ladder and stay there at the top. Now, I feel the corporate ladder has become a corporate maze, where the student has to maneuver himself or herself with updation and upgradation of skills say at every step. Means when we say that the jobs are changing, the job profiles are changing, workspaces are changing. So of course, the students' mindsets must also change. So we should always think that the students should have a growth mindset, and that is how I personally feel that our mentorship program has worked very well here. When the pandemic came and all the faculty members had to go online, we were forced to use the disruptive technology in a whiff of say 40-45 days time. What I presume as a Vice-Chancellor in our university we would have achieved in the next 3-4 years. So when we are forced to go online in every way, the best of the professors, and let me be very honest and candid about it, were very tense. In fact, the sort of pedagogy that they would use in a face-to-face classroom teaching was very different from what course was to be uploaded on the online platform. Initially, they used every way possible, uploading videos, sending mailers, using WhatsApp groups and whatnot. When the proper say platforms were developed, which we didn't have initially, and I have to be very clear about that, when they were developed, the students, I felt, had underwent a very big change in the process in the past 2-3 months. Even the quiet corners of the class, those who were very silent learners initially in the classroom, became very vocal. Now, how did this happen? In fact, I think that they found refuge in the online medium to some extent. They didn't have to face the teacher or the faculty member face to face. So the self-directed learning process for them started so well that even we were surprised as faculty members and teachers. The pedagogy was changed, the course curriculum is undergoing an entire say shift now. We are just changing it completely, modifying it completely. So all these things happened in the past 50-55 days or say maybe 2 months time. And what I personally feel is that disruption by technology is always for the good. And I feel that, as one of the learned panelists have already said so, that a shift from education 3 to 4 or a shift from industrial revolution 3 to 4 has brought out certain major changes. And we are in for a technology disruption at every step of our life in the times to come. The generation Z and Alpha would be facing such major technological changes every month, every year, every 6 months. So they have to keep themselves adept of how to keep a mindset to attune to these technological changes. So we have held mental wellness classes also. Now, mental wellness doesn't always mean that it should be held during a pandemic. What we have done is that we have tried to assess which of the students can be easily made into self-learners and which have to be groomed into one. Like how to develop an entrepreneurial mindset, for example. I think I remember John Abrahams having said long back in the 70s that not every student is going to become an entrepreneur, but each one of them will have to have an entrepreneurial mindset in the times to come. Whether they are doing their own, say, business, whether they are doing their own startups or going for a job. Even in a job, we believe that entrepreneurs are welcome. Those who can propose innovations in any organization are always welcome. So this is how we are trying to develop our students. We have prepared the video lectures of all the courses. We have a wide variety of courses at our university also, like pharmacy, engineering, management, so many of them. Means if I keep on naming them, the student strength is also averagely good. But what we intend to do now is to showcase the fact that our students, in association with the alumni of the university, we have a very strong alumni base as of now, and they have been helping us a lot. With the new say education policy having come up after 34 long years, and it has many good tenets embedded in how education is going to say proliferate in the times to come, I feel that say collaboration, which is a part of the 21st century skill, has not only to come between the government, the industry, and the say educators or the educational institutions. We as educational institutions must ourselves think of collaborating with each other. We cannot remain as isolated islands of excellence. Each one of us has a certain strength, which is more than that of the other, maybe even small in nature. So let's share our resources. Let's come together. This is my personal feeling. In the earlier university where I was in, Vice-Chancellor, what I did was that I fostered a collaboration between 3 or 4 universities in the region. We came together. Even I, as a man of management, took certain management classes of their universities. I started this. Initially, there was a resistance, but then they all came on board. And it was a wonderful thing to understand that once you come on board together and start collaborating, you forget all the say weaknesses which we as private universities think is better not to collaborate with each other. There are many issues in the mindsets of even the institution leaders, even the say management of certain institutions, that collaboration might lead to weakening. This is not so.
Absolutely right, Dr. Abhay. Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Abhay, since we'll have to move. You rightly said collaboration is very important, not just between the government and academia, but also between the private universities. It is very important. Wonderful to know that in your previous stint, you initiated this work of collaboration between the universities. With this, I would like to go to our next speaker. We are also joined by Dr. Indu Rao, Director for Vellore Institute of Technology. Thank you very much, Dr. Indu, for joining. I would request your perception in next 5 minutes. How you're regulating the learning and creating leaders in your institution. Dr. Indu.
Also welcome to Professor Birgitte and Ronit from Israel. I am very happy and elated to join all of you in this panel. I come from VIT Vellore.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There is a resound coming. Can you please adjust your sound system? Or else if you can use earphones.
Okay, I come from VIT Vellore. VIT Vellore is an institution of eminence. It has been recognized by the government of India. It's a private university in the state of Tamil Nadu, south of India. And we have 4 campuses in AP, Bhopal, 2 in Tamil Nadu, 40,000 students, 86 programs, 2,000 plus faculty members. And we have students from every state in India and 50 plus other countries. We have actually 250 plus MOUs with leading universities around the world and 1,000 plus industry partners. also 200 plus adjunct professors from different parts of the world. I am happy to have joined VIT, and the role that I have, since our scale and scope is huge, I take care of the faculty development. And I believe that if learning has to happen, the faculty has to continuously learn first. Then it is possible that we can help our students to learn. In our VIT, the slogan is VIT, a place to learn, a chance to grow. That is how this is what we believe in, this is what we practice, and it's a continuous learning. So I was really very happy when you put the title of this session as less education and more of learning. You will be happy to learn that just in this lockdown, I have conducted training programs for faculty, internal faculty I'm talking, and I had more than 10,000 faculty footfall in all the training programs combined. Even now there are parallel training sessions going on, and we give training on AI, machine learning, IoT, blockchain technology, anything that is coming latest in the world. We want our faculty to know and stay updated on the latest developments around the world. Of course, we have, in order to train them, we have experts from IBM, Google, Microsoft, every single company which is at the leading edge of technologies. And we have training programs in the field of, in the domains of research, teaching, health and well-being, technical, the digital learning, online tools. We also have multidisciplinary dialogue series because we believe we have our strength in technology. That goes without saying. I mean, it's we are not proud, but we are not like boasting about it. But given the kind of research centers that we have set up, our placement of our students for the 9th year is entering the Guinness Book of World Records. So, but we are also focusing on a multidisciplinary learning environment in our campus. We have a weekend series, Dialogue with Experts, where we invite the experts from different fields, whether it is design, it is architecture, it is humanities, social sciences. We believe in multidisciplinary and holistic education, and it is only relevant here to mention, I myself I started as an engineer. I have 3 decades of experience, having worked in public and private universities, in India, in USA, in Netherlands, and trying to bridge the gap between industry and practice. My first PhD thesis, which I have written 20 years ago, I have 2, and then a postdoc, was about how to make sure that learning is more diverted towards something which is meaningful. It's not that we created knowledge 20 years ago or 30 years ago or even 100 years ago and the same can be used. It's a continuous process. And if we are teaching something or if we are learning something that is not useful to anyone, then I think we have to just stop it. And there is a lot of it in our curriculum and in the ways we are dealing in our institutions these days. We have to learn to support each other. We have to learn to encourage innovation. We have to creativity and innovation is a word which is talked about to a large extent, but in practice, we are not supporting and encouraging it because it requires change. It requires change in any establishment, even for universities that have set up, that are like 50, if you compare with 50 years, if you compare with Oxford and Cambridge, I think 800, 900 years, I don't think many universities in the world can boast of that. But even if we have existed for like 50 years, 60 years, we start getting into that cultural, a particular culture sets in and then you are resistant to change. So I think that newer universities will be more open to change. They will be more open to learning the new things, and a multidisciplinary and holistic education is what is required. My time is up.
Yeah, please go ahead. 1 minute more, please.
Okay. So I fully believe in the vision of the new education policy, which talks of multidisciplinary education, industry-based education or industry-relevant education, holistic education, an international outlook, and research-based. So even our research, we have to research. I want to make that point very clearly because I got a chance to be a part of research universities around the world and in India. I mean, I'm a postdoc of IIM Ahmedabad and in some universities abroad. We have to stop doing research only for some kind of a citation or some publication. It has to translate into meaning to someone who is practicing, either in industry or in social spheres. Any technology has to also convert into relevance and making our lives better in order to help the people. Anything that any part of our curriculum or any sphere that we are addressing inside our universities, we have to see whether somebody can learn something which can be applied for either society or industry or a profession or practice. With this, I think time is less. I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Indu. Now I would come to all the speakers. Professor Birgitte, I would come to you first. A quick 1-minute response, all the work, the critical thinking and regulating learning and the growth mindset among the students and also those who are taking course. A quick 1-minute response from all of you, like how are you assessing the emotional intelligence? How is the process of assessment? Quick 1-minute response.
Okay, my quick reaction is that we've spoken a lot about what the students, how we're changing everything for the students and how we assess it. But actually, to be the instructor and the teacher, we need to think about training the trainers, because it's a completely different skill set to be giving and assessing the students in class, and then assessing them in this more like co-creating environment and to be running this. And there's not a quick fix to that. And I know that because I'm myself a university professor who became the CEO of an organization where we are really looking at crowdsourcing people in, we're like an open source community, just we are crowdsourcing people into jointly develop business strategies. And we have also now created some training programs on digital transformation and on intellectual property right management, which you all might be interested in. But they're all co-created. And I think that to this whole world, your question is an easy question, but it's very, very difficult to answer, because we really step one in the university environment in changing that. And we need to have a strategy around the teachers and the instructors. We don't solve the problem by only building platforms. And I think UK universities is at step one on that. And I think that's possibly globally, but we're moving fast. But I've learned so much, I'm really overwhelmed. But I'd love to work with many of the organizations here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Birgitte, Professor Birgitte. So since the short of time, Dr. Jain Rao, a quick response from you on the assessment of this self-learning regulation. A quick 30-second response from you.
Self-learning regulations, I think, must be flexible. It should not be rigid. And the scope of learning, it should itself be quite wide and depends on the aptitude of the person. At Vignana Jyothi, we have put all these modern technologies, so-called modern technologies, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, data analytics, and all these Industry 4 technologies on what is known as a mezzanine platform. You know what a mezzanine platform is. It's available there. It's available, this technology, artificial intelligence, like one of our speakers said, is useful for every domain. So all the engineering domains and the scientific domains and the management domains, these Industry 4 technologies are available. And in fact, we have a major and a minor. A major in mechanical engineering with an artificial intelligence as a minor. So we found this mezzanine technologies and putting them in the mezzanine and making it available to all domains of engineering and science is a very, very powerful tool.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rao. So now I come to Ms. Ronit, Haham, Salman, a 30 seconds quick response.
Okay, so I truly believe in treating students as professionals from day one. Let us all explain and show them that talents are not necessarily the ones that have the most highest score. Talents know how to work with each other, to collaborate, to really work in a multidisciplinary way. and just build their own future. So we'll be there, we will give guidance, but they are the ones that should really build their own path. Let's give them lots of questions. They will find the answers themselves. That's it. Thank you all. I've learned so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ronit. Now I come to Dr. Chris. Your quick response on the assessment.
Yeah, so I think the world is moving fast and we need to have modern tools and technologies to assess. I want to stress upon two things and then my 30 seconds will be over. One is, yes, the technical digital skills, but equally important are the human skills like gratitude, kindness, positivity, mindfulness, meditation, so on and so forth. And we need to create mechanisms which can assess not just the technical skills, but also the human skills. And together, what will come out is what we call super intelligence, which is the combination of collective human intelligence combined with artificial and machine intelligence.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chris. Now I move to a quick response, 30-second response from Dr. Sandeep Pachpande. We are also joined by our next speakers of our next session. So 30 seconds, Dr. Sandeep.
Yes, so as we see that holistic and life education is very important, and we have to move towards from a teacher-centric to a student-centric teaching. And this needs education institutions to totally reimagine, reset, reboot themselves to meet the new normal. The blended education is going to be the future. Hybrid education is enabled by technology is what is going to be the key. However, while doing this, as other panelists said, let's not forget the human element of ethics, morals is very important, because if we do not, if we are not putting morals, we are creating a menace to the society otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I move on to Dr. R.S. Bawa. A quick 30-second response, sir.
Yeah, sure. We are doing 5 things. In fact, we have defined our core values, and which include empathy, then humility, then giving, and human dignity. And also we have created a department of mentoring and value inculcation, and we have even created a meditation room. We are offering a program of Siri Ji, which is Art of Living, to the students as an open elective. And as far as design thinking is concerned, we have created a department of Center of Innovation, and also we have a technology business incubator. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. R.S. Bawa. Now I move to Dr. Abhay Kumar. A quick 30-second response, sir.
In fact, I would like to just dwell on one certain point that we have found during this pandemic, especially, that the expectations the teachers have as a fixed mindset from the students has to be modified. In fact, what happened was certain projects which we were usually giving to students, we asked the students to pick up the topics of their choice, and the B grade ones came to A grade during an evaluation. So that means there was we were lacking in terms of evaluation and assessment initially. Then in the second aspect, when we talk about, of course, we have to look into the holistic development of the student, as Professor Bawa said. So here also we are having regular classes of mindfulness, and we are trying to develop that empathy part into the students, which I think is a root which our cultural heritage, especially in India, has. Thank you.
Very much. Now our last speaker of this session, Dr. Indu, a quick 30-second response on this.
On assessment, I think we have to move to a situation where we don't scare both teachers and students about exams, because when students are stressed and when anxiety levels are high, their learning goes down. So we have to allow a very fair and a comfortable environment for the students. We have to reduce the number of exams and assessments. We have to allow this to leave it to the teachers to decide, because if you get the right teachers and if you train the teachers right, the teacher can very well decide how to assess and evaluate so that the student gets to learn what he or she is expected to learn. I think we have moved way far too beyond in having like exams which were first annually, then every 2 semesters, then three semesters a year, and within every semester we have 4 times assessment, 3 continuous evaluations, and then the final. We have to reduce, and we have to reduce the scare, and with the people who are just using that power to give marks to students in order to keep their positions, I think you have to relook at them.
Absolutely, absolutely right, Dr. Indu. An amazing panel from all over the world. Professor Birgitte from she joined us from the European land, and also Professor Ronit Haham from Israel. And we also have our very eminent speakers from across the country. With this, I would like to thank all of you. An amazing discussion on less education, more learning, self-regulated learning, and growth of the mindset for higher education and lifelong.